Last night, this was a pretty big deal. Chris Rock was back on stage in Boston to do a stand-up show for the first time since the Will Smith slap, and he said almost nothing about it. I didn't think he would. I think he's handling it just about right, where he doesn't say really a word about it.
But that did not stop the local and some of the national news organizations from saying Chris Rock finally speaks out.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
About the slap heard around the world.
Right. He said, like, his joke was, well, so how was your weekend? And they all laughed.
That's a great start.
Yeah. And then he said, I don't have a lot to say about what happened. So if you came to hear that, I have a whole show I wrote before this weekend. I'm processing what happened. And that's all he said. And then all the national news said, as Chris Demm pointed out.
Finally addresses.
Chris Rock breaks his silence.
Yeah, speaks out.
Some of the fans after the show, they were mixed. I think more, though, appreciated what he did because they thought it was a great show than what he didn't say.
He touched upon that, and but in a very light way. I expected him to defend his comedy a little bit.
He didn't break the news that we wanted to hear.
I was so glad he didn't talk about the slap. He just went on with the show that he had prepared, and it was fantastic.
I was expecting Chris to say a lot more than he did, so a little bit disappointed.
There's some disappointment there that he didn't address it or do 5 minutes of comedy on it, which I guess he could have. He's obviously a great stand-up comedian, but I think I would have just appreciated the show, you know. I think some people paid a lot more money than they thought. You know, the ticket prices went up, and now the shows are all sold out, which is one of the reasons B.B. Shea thought it was staged, but he's coming around now to say no, because Will Smith is really getting a lot of heat now.
I thought about you yesterday, B.B. Shea, and your initial take on the slap at the Oscars that Will and Rock were in on it. There was one sort of conspiracy theory wormhole that I didn't go all the way into, but I did see like frame by frame, enlarged frame of the slap, screen caps of the slap. And there are people, I think this is legit, that seem to believe the whole thing was a ruse because Chris Rock was wearing a fake cheek. They zoomed in on the pixels and saw that he was wearing like a pad.
Really?
That's what I saw. Now, again, I could have been fished in, by somebody playing something else.
My wife and her sister are at odds over this.
Oh, is that right?
My sister-in-law lives in Charleston, South Carolina, and she called yesterday for the first time. And my sister
never calls.
No, she never calls.
Did she apologize?
She said to my wife, "What do you think about this whole Will Smith thing?" And my wife said, I think Will Smith was way over the line. I think he should lose his Oscar. I don't think he should be allowed back at the Oscars. And my sister-in-law said, oh, really? Because I'm the exact opposite. I love seeing a man stand up for his wife, finally, for Chris Rock, who told that completely inappropriate joke. And my wife said, you have got to be kidding me. Are you out of your mind?
Did you tiptoe out of the room?
Yeah, I just... I don't get in between. These sisters now.
That's for the best.
Whatever, but... I'm more on the side of my wife. And this was kind of breaking news yesterday. They asked him to leave, and he didn't.
Yeah, I heard that they asked him to leave.
Yeah. I mean, that's ballsy, too, isn't it? Some official comes up to you and says, you just slapped Chris Rock on stage. You need to leave. And he goes, no.
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. Makes me think even more poorly
Me too.
of Will
I'm
Smith.
surprised they didn't tote him out.
I am, too. It's like they could have gotten a police officer and forced him to leave, and he said no. You know,
What if that was Will Smith up there accepting his award or presenting an award, and one of the nominees from the lighting guy, that's nominated for a lighting award and goes up and slaps Will Smith? Would he get to stay?
No.
Well, no, but everything is the wife and husband dynamic changes everything.
I know, but that's not fair.
It is what it is. I think more people disagree with Chris Rock than disagree with Will Smith in the U.S.
Oh, I don't. I get the feeling that way more people disagree with Will Smith.
You saw the poll yesterday. I sent it to you.
What was it? What was it?
Kelly,
it's like 53% support Will Smith and like 47% support Chris Rock.
But I read a poll that said 2 out of 3 would like to see Will Smith banned from the Oscars to
polls.
not come back. It's hard to say.
I mean, some people, like my friend West Coast Bob, he texted me last night. He said, what's your take on this? And I said, oh, that was a bitch move by Will.
Me too.
And he said, yeah. And he kind of hemmed and hawed and said, I think the outrage is overblown.
Oh, against Will Smith?
Against Will.
Well, some people think that hitting somebody else is like, I got an email from 2 Will Hardo. Now, he's He's hard up.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy,
It's in his name.
he's like, since when you punch a guy, it's not that big a deal. It's like, so what? They're beefing it out over a wife comment, and you slap a guy. And he didn't think that was across the line. I do. I think that's over the line to go up and hit somebody. If he had gone up and verbally, even if he'd yelled at him but to hit him is over the line.
Should have asked him, should Chris Rock have hit back? And started that way.
Well, I think
because
he
if somebody
said yes.
something about somebody's wife, and do you go up and hit him? What if they start beating the hell out of
And then
you?
there's a fight.
Then you've got to fight.
Then you've got to fight.
Then it's just a mess.
And what you were saying about what if the lighting guy did? I mentioned this the other day. If it was two nobodies, if it was two seat fillers out there, and Chris Rock made the joke, they would have been dragged out on their heels. It's like, because he's a celebrity.
These are A-listers.
But that shouldn't matter. I mean, he did the same thing. If somebody who's a no-name did the same thing to Chris Rock, they're pressing charges. He's in jail.
Crime's a crime.
It's the exact same thing. That should not matter. Whatever their policy is, should be their policy. Of course, it's never come up before.
Yeah, there isn't one.
There is no policy. But I think you sit and judge it by the situation. If it was some nobody, you're done.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Well, it's tough for the Academy, because they're going to want to do what's in their best interest too, which is have Will Smith back one day, and hopefully he can keep his Oscar. I don't think they're going to take away his Oscar. I think they should.
I didn't think that, but yesterday I thought there was more ground gaining on that because he was asked to leave and refused, and a lot of people like Wanda Sykes says she's still triggered. Wanda said,
"Oh Lord,
well, listen,
not Wanda.
Wanda was on with Ellen last night." And she said, and Ellen said she was triggered.
Well, if you look around like social media and if you watch some of the coverage, I think comedians are 99.5% behind Chris Rock. Because they do that for a living. And they say if you could start slapping somebody for jokes you don't like,
exactly,
then their livelihoods are in danger.
Game over.
Then you can't have Ricky Gervais at the Grammys or whatever he hosts, the Golden Globes.
If you don't take some sort of measure, it justifies everybody coming up on stage and hitting somebody. Just because of saying something.
You have to I think you have to punish Will Smith I think you have to ban him from the Oscars forever. That's what I would do.
Wouldn't hurt my feelings.
This is Wanda Sykes.
I saw Chris at Guy's party, and as soon as I walked up to him, the first thing he said was, "I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "Why are you apologizing?" He was like, "It was supposed to be your night. It was you and Amy and Regina, y'all were doing such a great job. I'm so sorry. This is now going to be about this." You mean that's who Chris is?
Chris is a sweet guy.
I just felt so awful for my friend. It was sickening. I physically felt ill, and I'm still a little traumatized by it. And
see them, they're traumatized by this whole thing.
Well, they're comics. That's their background.
That's true. And Wanda Sykes saw it. But it's interesting to me too. You later, a couple of days later, you have a chance to say, this is how I felt. If you're traumatized by it, Wanda Sykes could say, I'm not going back on stage. The three hosts could have said, we're not going back out there until you remove this
get
man.
rid of him.
Mm-hmm. And they all three, or at least two, I've heard Schumer and Sykes now speak out against it. They could have said, we're done here unless you remove this man who just hit our friend up on stage.
There is the old show must go on kind of thing. And,
right.
Mm-hmm. And the people at home, they need some guidance. I mean, things fall apart if you do that.
If you remove Will Smith?
I think for the show and for the viewers at home and the people there, I think things the wheels fall off if they didn't go back out on stage.
Well,
and
I
do
agree
their
with
thing.
that, but I think they did have
given him that ultimatum.
But if they had given the ultimatum, I think they would have removed Will Smith. They asked him to leave already. They could have gotten security and forced him to leave.
That's tough. I don't think they would have. I don't know if they would have or not. They wanted him in there bad. They knew he was going to win
the best actor. Robert, you wanted to comment on this. Go ahead.
Hey, well, I just had a kind of just playing devil's advocate or just kind of seeing about a different perspective. What if Will Smith would have sat through it, taken it, and then gone after the show out back, as it were, and sorted it out, just the two of them? Would the outrage be the same?
I don't think so. I think because it was on television and he disrupted the show and it was there for everybody to see. I mean, video changes a lot of stuff. You see it and you're like, holy cow. If we heard, hey, after the show, Will Smith didn't appreciate that joke, and the two got into a tussle after it was done, I don't think we'd be reacting hardly at all.
Yeah, it's not like Kelly's correct. I mean, it's something you just have never seen in that setting.
Right.
If it happens at the after party, well, people get in fights at parties.
Yeah, and I do think you're right about that. It's a different thing then.
Completely different.
Thank you, Robert. It's a good point. We go to Jim, who has a comment on the Will Smith slap. Go ahead.
Hey, guys. P1 from Day One.
Thank you.
Love the show.
Thanks.
I'm wondering if our society hasn't gotten to the point where we feel like we have to take a side instead of maybe blaming both of them.
You could say that Chris Rock was over the line with the joke, but Will Smith could have handled it a lot better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, possible.
Yeah, the people who are pro Will, I think most of them are saying that the joke was over the line. The joke was in not just bad taste, not just a bad joke, but in poor taste and an insult.
But I don't believe he knew that she has alopecia, and I didn't find it that offensive. And the big thing to me is that Will Smith laughed at it for a few seconds before he looked over at his wife and then went completely off the rails. You know, he was laughing, and it's not just a fake laugh. He's literally going, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, somebody should slap Will Smith for laughing. It's not even a great joke.
A terrible joke.
I mean, it's bad comedy.
Wasn't even that funny. Right?
No.
Speaking of bad comedy, after that Chris Rock show last night, as they were interviewing the fans coming out, one tried to make a joke.
I thought I saw Will Smith in the wings, but I guess I was hallucinating. I thought I was maybe I was hallucinating.
Now she should be slapped. Okay.
Open-handed.
Open-handed, not a
Open-handed,
punch.
not a closed fist.
That's right. Closed.
Maybe a backhand.
Just one. Yeah.
I think we know.
A good backhand slap. You don't see those very often.
Give him a slap.
We know where Sean Connery stands.
Look at that. Look how we've come. That's a good. Sean Connery, 30 years ago, was being interviewed by Barbara Walters. We have the clip.
Yeah.
I'll get it for you. About slapping women. Iris, you're talking about the Oscars and the slap. Go ahead.
I just thought it was interesting that I heard this rumor and I looked it up and found out it was true. Pfizer is one of the major sponsors of the Oscars. Okay?
Yeah.
Then, on top of that, in the last couple of days, they've released several press releases about a drug that they're testing for alopecia, and that they're excited to go to the next level, and that this drug is going to be coming out and all that stuff.
Wow, you're on BB Shea's side here. That's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
That perhaps everybody was in on it so that Pfizer could sell their alopecia drug because everybody's talking about alopecia. I saw several women interviewed last night on the news who had alopecia, and they were offended by the joke. You know, they thought. And I saw, you know what, Gervais said, thank you very much, Iris. Ricky Gervais, Chris Demm and I really like him. He was on The Office, the British version of the show. And he's known as being very, very in the face of the stars in the room when he hosts these shows. And he said he would not have done the alopecia joke, but he would have done a joke about Jada Pinkett sleeping around on Will Smith. He's like, I would have joked about her boyfriend. And now that...
But didn't Regina Hall sort of allude to that earlier?
Yes.
In the night,
when she was bringing up all the single men.
Yeah.
And then she got over there and said, Will, come on up here. She's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then, oh, Jada, you don't mind, right?
Yeah, you know, it's. I mean, not to get too fine a point on this, but you know, if you're making jokes about something that like appearance, it's one thing. Activities, you choose to do those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know why. You never 100% know why someone doesn't have hair.
We do tell our kids, don't ever make. I mean, my son.
If you can't control it,
right?
Like the color of your skin or your whatever.
That's right.
The way you walk, or if you can't walk.
And we've made some weight jokes on this show. You know, we do that. We do that. I know.
When?
One of the early days.
I mean, you make...
Not today we have.
Not today. Today's the worst day to do a weight joke.
No.
I've always found bald jokes to be so innocuous. You know, just so, who cares? Bald. I mean, you know, you can't really help it, but it's not that big a deal. But for a woman, maybe it's different. You know, women lose their hair.
I don't think we can even fathom what it's like for a woman. However, you know, and I guess it does take a strong person, a female especially, to go out like that. You don't have to go out if you think you're going to get a hard time about it, about not having hair. I'm not saying I'm not justifying what Rock said, but I don't know. It's still not worth a slap.
Comparing the two,
I mean, come on.
Will Smith is way worse, and he could have handled it a completely different way. He could have publicly said, that joke was no good. I just want to say something here. That joke was wrong because my wife has alopecia. She struggles with it, and he needs to apologize. That's really all he had to do. Or take it up with him personally after the show, and maybe Rock issues an apology. Who knows? But slapping him was
Do you think it ever crossed Chris Rock's mind to retaliate there and go and grab him as he's walking away on the back of the neck and try and do something? I mean,
the whole room was in shock.
Yeah, he's so shocked by it. I don't think it did. I think he was just thinking, what just happened, and let me get to the next award,
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to speak.
I know. This is the Sean Connery episode Chris Demm is talking about. He was being interviewed by Barbara Walters many years ago, and he had made the statement that hitting a woman,
not good, but justified.
Okay.
You did an interview in which you said, it's not the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist. It's better to do it with an open hand. Yeah, remember that? Yeah.
The tone changed a little. There was kind of happy there for a while, and then Connery kind of, I did say that. And then he doubled down.
And I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No, not at all.
You think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good.
You don't think it's bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. Yeah.
What would merit it?
Well, if you have tried everything else, and women are pretty good at this, that they can't leave it alone. They want to have the last word, and you give them the last word, but they're not happy with the last word. They want to say it again, and get into a really provocative situation. Then I think it's absolutely right.
All right. That's Connery. She's winding him up. She keeps winding him up.
That's why Barbara was great at interviews.
Barbara was really good. She had
to get there.
And then Barbara, when that ended, says, "Oh, by the way, this is long before, of course, Sean has passed away now." But she says, Sean and his wife Micheline are quite happy.
By the way, Sean Connery has been married to Micheline for 31 years, and we have not heard a single complaint.
Wonder why.
Beat the hell out of her.
Right.
That's why. She's got a broken jaw.
She's not going to say. She's
anything.
not going to say anything now, is she? No. Interesting email from a P1 listener named Ace, who says something about this slapping at the Oscars issue. Ace P1 says, "I can't say whether Will Smith was right or wrong. I would probably stick up for my significant other. But here's the point of this email. When I was a senior in high school, I had cancer and lost all my hair. Long story short, I was good friends with our valedictorian, and she had a joke she wanted to use in her speech at graduation about my hair loss. She told me the joke ahead of time. I thought it was hilarious, so I said, go ahead. So at graduation, she's giving her speech, and she says, and with our final exams, we were all pulling our hair out. Well, except for Ace, and pointed at me. Crickets.
Sometimes that's how it goes.
I'm familiar with that. You could have heard a pin drop in an enormous auditorium as my bald head was made the focus of her speech. She got a ton of backlash for a long time afterwards, and I kept explaining to people that I thought it was funny, I didn't take it seriously, and she had asked me about it beforehand. Maybe it's apples and oranges, but my point is maybe we should lighten up a little bit. Jokes are exactly what they are, jokes. And sometimes you get roasted a little bit, and it's not that big a deal, especially when you're at something as big as the Oscars. And I don't believe Chris Rock knew that she had alopecia. He just thought she had changed her hairstyle. Lots of times laughing about things, illness, death, etc., is what helps us all get through it. So I said to everyone after that, don't be hard on her. I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But boy,
good for him. Good email.
Boy, but she misplayed that, didn't she? I mean, I guess you... Agreed. I mean, she went to
but in a room of parents and grandparents, they don't know.
It doesn't work.
For a solid
the entire student body doesn't know.
That's right.
Yeah. And sometimes it's the delivery.
Sometimes. I've delivered
I don't
jokes.
think it's good.
Okay.
Maybe she flubbed the joke going into it. Maybe she didn't use the right tone.
Maybe
she didn't say something. Maybe she didn't have a few quirky little things leading up to that.
She's not a comedian. You know, she's a person.
I mean, there's a way to do it. It's a craft.
I wonder if, let's say, Jerry Seinfeld was telling that joke. I wonder if he could have gotten a laugh out of it. You're right. It's different.
As a known comedian, you'll get a laugh.
Well, Jerry Seinfeld has said before that when people don't laugh at your joke, it's never the crowd, it's never the audience, it's your fault.
It's 100% the comic.
You've got to find a way to tell it the right way.
Yeah.
And that's when the joke bombs, it's on you. We've hashed out an attempt I made at humor. Bargain bin.
Yeah.
100 times.
I don't think it's good.
That one fell off the rails
Bargain
early.
bin. That's right.
But you stuck with it, Kelly. So there's something to say with your stick-with-itness.
Thank you.
Stick to itiveness, as we used to say.
Yes.
That's right.
I mean, you didn't let it go. You stumbled.
That's right. Stumbled, but kept with it. The joke was a gentleman had put his penis up on the scanner at Walmart or a grocery store. And my joke was 10 inches or less. Okay?
Solid joke.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Like 10 items or less.
Not an A+, but a solid joke.
Okay, it's good enough. It's
that's
good enough.
good.
In the context of this show,
Yeah, for morning radio,
It's all right.
it's
It's
fine.
winner.
It
Fine,
works.
fine.
A winner.
We'll sing it out there. But I messed it up. And instead of saying 10 inches or less, I said 10 items or less. And then I was fumbling with my words. And then I was just reaching and clawing for anything I could. And I said the word bargain bin.
10 items are. It's the bargain bin.
And now people come up to me at stores and say, "Da bargain bin," or thought you'd be in da bargain bin.
10 items are. It's the bargain bin.
It never gets old. Never lands and it never gets old. Exactly.
It's like watching somebody fall off a cliff.
Over and over. Yeah. It's like one of those things you go to YouTube and just laugh and laugh.
Yeah. 10 items are. It's the bargain bin.
And Demm thinks it's like after you've been, your head's been cut off, but you still flail around.
Electricity in your brain.
Yeah. So your legs keep on kicking.
Jerking.
Yeah.
Items are. It's the bargain bin.
Just reaching up.
Then you rewind it, play it over,
Play it over.
rewind it,
over again.
play it over.
It never gets old.
No.